very warm welcome to APSC bro. Today we are going to do a very important video that is on the preparation strategy of polity for the upcoming combined competitive exam 2022 prelims. Now polity is one of the most important subjects of any GS paper as it accounts for around 10 to 15% of the questions every year. And polity is something which we can actually prepare because there are certain questions, certain topics which are repeated every year. And hence, if we do a preparation as per a good strategy, we can actually make a lot of common questions out of that, and we can actually attempt 80 to 90% of the questions if our preparation is good. And this video will help you in that preparation. Now, before going into details, let me tell you why a preparation strategy of polity is important. First thing, its weightage is very high. Second thing, because polity has lot of topics from which every year questions are being set. So if you know which topics to study, we can actually do good in polity. To show you the importance of polity, let us see last year paper, that is 2020 prelims paper. Here you can see polity accounted for 10% of the questions. Now this is the bare minimum. If you see the other year paper, see we have analyzed last 7-year CCE exams paper. We have only analyzed the papers which was asked in combined competitive exam prelims. There are 7 years previous to this year, that was 2020, 2018, 2016, 2015, 14, 13 and 11. Now if you see in 2020 there was 10 question asked. In 2018 it rose up to 14. In 16 it was 13. In 15 and 14 it was as high as 17 and 18 questions. In 13 and 11 again 16 to 17 questions. So you can always expect around 12 to 15 questions from polity every year. That is the importance of polity in CCE. Okay. Now when I say preparation strategy, the best strategy is based on facts rather than some absurd ideas. So to have our facts, we have to analyze previous year papers. Now what we have done in this video is that we have analyzed last 7-year papers and analyzed the polity portion of them. Now why this was important is that you see, we'll show through our analysis that some topics, there were questions from the same topics again and again. In fact, some questions was repeated exactly the same. So what it gives you is that out of the numerous topics of polity, there are certain topics which are very important, from which questions are asked very frequently. So you have to identify these topics. And the first thing to do while preparing for this year polity is that you have to go through all the topics that has been previously asked. That is the first strategy. Once we have identified our topics, we can, if we see the repetitions being going on, we'll understand which topics to follow, what kind of questions to follow, and then what kind of books that we can refer to. Let us begin it. First thing we are doing is that we are trying to find out what are the topics that were asked in the last year paper, that is 2020. There was 2 article based questions, one on fundamental right and one on governor. There was a schedule based question in which it was asked which schedule refers to the state list and union list. We know that all the things in our constitution or the tasks in the constitution are divided into 3 lists: state list, union list and the concurrent list. And on the topics that are in the state list, the state government can take action. On the union list, the union government can take action. And on the concurrent list, both the state and the union can take action. Okay, there was a question on which schedule was related to state list and union list. The very important Article 368. Article 368 deals with the amendment of the constitution. So there was a question, why fundamental rights cannot be amended? Now this question, see, usually APSC asks factual type of question, what is our belief, right? But this, you see, this question is somewhat more like the pattern of UPSC. There was a question, why fundamental rights cannot be amended, and there were 4 options which you have to choose upon. There was a question on the amendment, on the 73rd amendment on Panchayati Raj. Okay. There was question on fundamental rights. There was a question on equal opportunity, right related to equal opportunity. There's a question on which fundamental right is available only to the Indian citizens. Now we know fundamental rights, some fundamental rights are available to everyone, whoever comes to India. And there are certain fundamental rights which are only available to the Indian citizens, which are not available to the foreigners, like right to vote and etc. So there was a question which fundamental right is available only to Indian citizens. Then there was a question related to the amendment of the fundamental rights, whether the government can amend the fundamental rights. This is related to the basic structure of the constitution. There is a question on the sources of constitution. Now this is also a very important topic, sources of constitution. There was a question, from which foreign constitution was the election of president borrowed from? That were the questions, topics from which 2020 questions were asked. Now we'll be coming to 2018 topics. Again, you see, there are 3 article based questions. Last year it was 2, this time 3. There was a question on which article is related to right to equality, which article is related to state emergency. Emergency provisions are very important. And there was a question, which article is related to RT. RT is right to education. There was a question on RTA Act, that is right to information. There was a question on constitutional amendment. Last year there was a question on constitutional amendment related to Panchayati Raj, right? 73rd amendment. This time there was a question, which constitutional amendment is related to duties. Duties are again very important topic. Swaran Singh committee and other things are usually asked. There was a question, who appoints the district judge? Okay, there may be options like president, governor, etc. etc. Next question, there was a question on Panchayati Raj regarding the features of the Panchayati Raj, like the tiers of the Panchayati Raj, how many seats are reserved. There's a question on how many seats were reserved for women in the Panchayati system. There's a question on Northeastern Region Reorganization Act. The years of constitution of various northeastern states like Nagaland, Manipur, Arunachal are important. There is a question on the feature of the Indian constitution. When I say feature of the Indian constitution, like the basic features, like it's the written constitution, it is the longest constitution, it gives us a parliamentary system of government, federal system of government with a unitary bias. So these are the features of the constitution. So there was a question on that. There was a question on the 6th schedule. This is very important, 6th schedule. It is related to the schedule areas and special to Assam. There was a question on Council of Ministers. So these were the topics on which 2018 questions of polity were based upon. Make a note of all the topics. Next, let's come to 2016 year. Here again there was 3 questions that were based on articles. Which article is related to High Court, which article is related to Supreme Court, and which article is related to article and a question on related to Article 370, which is related to Jammu and Kashmir. Next, there was a question on Lok Adalat. Next, there was a question on who is the custodian of Indian Constitution. There might be options like the President, the Supreme Court, etc. etc. Okay. There was a question on PIL, that is Public Interest Litigation. There was a question, what is the maximum period between 2 sessions of the state legislature? Okay. Option may be 3 months, 6 months, 1 year, like that. Again, there was a question on 6th schedule. See, it was just asked the previous year. Again, it is asked 6th schedule. So these were the questions that were asked in 2016 topics. Okay. Next, let's come to 2015. Here again, there was article-based question. There was asked which article is related to the nomination of 2 Anglo-Indians to Lok Sabha by the President. There was again a question on RT, right to education. We have seen in previous year also there was a question on which article is related to RT. Here it is asked regarding a feature of the RT. RT is right to education. Then there was a question on Supreme Court. Then there was a question on the constitutional amendment related to SC and ST reservation. Okay, so this is important. Constitutional amendment related to SC reservation, ST reservation related to National Commission of SC/ST. Yes. Next, there was a question on state list. So they will give you a thing, and they will ask you whether it will come under state list or union list or concurrent list. Now, law and order, whether it is in state list or concurrent list. Education, whether it is state list or union list, like that. Next, there was a question on impeachment of the president. Okay, this is very important. Next, there was a question on the role of the vice president as the ex officio chairman of Rajya Sabha. There might be a question: who is the ex officio chairman of Rajya Sabha? Vice president, president, prime minister. So the option will be vice president. Next, there was again a question on Panchayati Raj. Then again, it is exactly the repeat of the previous year question. The schedule which is related to state list and union list. Okay. There was a question on directive principles of state policy. There was a question on welfare state. Usually this is also asked, which article is related to welfare state. Okay. In 2015 again, there was a question on article related to the national party definition. There was a question related to what is the maximum strength or what is the maximum number of seats in Lok Sabha. In APSC, you can also get how many seats are reserved for Assam in Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha. Okay, or how many seats are reserved for SC/ST in the Assam legislature. So this kind of questions are usually asked. Strength of Lok Sabha and state assemblies. Next question again, see, repeat of previous year question. What is the maximum gap between two sessions of the parliament? The question was asked on state legislature. This time it is asked on parliament. Again, features of the constitution. There was a question on election of the state legislative assembly. Okay. So these were the questions, topics from which it was asked in 2015. Now we'll come to 2014. In 2014, again, there was a question on fundamental rights. See, articles from 14 to 32 are very important. You have to know which article deals with which kind of fundamental right. There was a question on father of Lok Sabha, local self-government, again related to Panchayati Raj. There was a question on the national emergency. There was a question on Mandal Commission. We know Mandal Commission is related to OBC reservation. So there was a question on Mandal Commission. There was a question on the election of vice president. Again, see, again the repeat of the same question, exactly the same. Maximum time period between two sessions of the state legislature. Then there was a question on oath of president and the governor. And there was a question on the joint session of the parliament. This is a very important topic, joint session of the parliament. Which article deals with the joint session? Who presides over the joint session of the parliament? So these are important. There was a question on the year of creation of states, especially the northeastern states. I have told you before during the northeastern reorganization question, years of creation of the states, especially the northeastern states, are very important. Now we'll come to 2013 polity questions. Important topics, again the state list. What is included in the state list, what is included in the union list, these are important. Just have a read. There's a question on powers of Rajya Sabha. We know in Indian system the Lok Sabha has more power than the Rajya Sabha, but yet Rajya Sabha has certain special powers. Now what are those? Read them. Very important. There was again a question on DPSP, Directive Principle of State Policy. Again there is a question on the sixth schedule. There was a question on preamble. See, reading the preamble is very important. The provisions of they are usually direct questions from the provisions of the preamble. So you have to read the preamble. Okay. There are two questions on money bill. Now money bill is one of the most important topics in constitution. The article related to money bill, what is money bill, whether the money bill can be amended, yes, whether Lok Sabha has or Rajya Sabha has more power on money bill. These are very important. Next, Constituent Assembly, again very important. When was the Constituent Assembly established, constituted? Who was the chairman? Various committees of the Constituent Assembly, who headed those committees. These are important. Great. Okay. Again, constitutional amendment. You see, constitutional amendments are asked again and again, and especially the 42nd and 44th amendment are very important. Also the 73rd because of the Panchayati Raj. So these are very important. Okay. Ashok Mehta Committee, again Panchayati Raj. So when you are reading Panchayati Raj, Balwant Rai Mehta Committee, Ashok Mehta Committee, these are very important. Again in 2013 there was again the repeat of the same question, schedule related to union list and state list. See, you can see how questions are being repeated again and again. There was a question on national emergency. Previously also there were question on national emergency. Now also there is a question on national emergency. National emergency, you have to read which article deals with national emergency, which deals with state emergency, financial emergency. Yes. For how long period of time can the national emergency be called upon? So these are important. What secular was added to the constitution by which amendment? There's a question like that. Option may be 42nd, 44th, right? You see, constitutional amendments are repeated every year. Then there was a question on the article related to citizenship. Which article deals with the citizenship of India? Okay, so now we'll come to the last paper, that is 2011. The topics that were there, habeas corpus. So these writs are very important. Usually article 32 deals with the writs. Habeas corpus, mandamus, certiorari, quo warranto. You have to know which writ deals with what. Very important. In UPSC also you will see a lot of questions which are repeated on the writs. This is related to writ. Please go through them. Next, related to democracy. Usually on the feature of democracy. What is democracy? What is the basic feature? So there will be a question on that. There are two article based questions, one on article 80 and one on UPSC. Which article deals with UPSC? Which article deals with State Public Service Commission? These are important. Next, the committee which was related to fundamental duties. Previously there was a question on which constitutional amendment deals with fundamental duties. Now there is a question on which committee is related to fundamental duty. It was Swaran Singh committee, right? Next, there was a question on Panchayati Raj, specifically on Assam. There are two questions on that on the same paper. See, 2011 they asked two questions from the same topic, Panchayati Raj. Then there was a question on Planning Commission. The Planning Commission has been dismantled now. It has been replaced by Niti Aayog. Yet Planning Commission is an important topic and a 5-year plans. Okay. Then there was a question on citizenship. Previously also we have seen there was a question on which article is related to citizenship. This year there was a question directly on the basic definition of the citizenship. And there was a question on the impeachment of the president. This was asked repeated. Yes, previously also there was a question on impeachment of the president. Now you can see certain topics are repeated every year. Now if you see article based questions, see in 2020 there were two questions on article based questions. In 2018 there were three questions on article based question. 2016 there were three questions on article based question. 2015 1 and 2011 2. So this shows how important these articles are. And there are so many articles in the constitution, it is not important to read all of them. Okay, we have made a video on the important articles of the Indian Constitution. We'll be sharing the link in our description box. Please go through that video. If you get to know all the articles that are mentioned in the video, it will be good enough to attempt these questions. 3 questions, 2 questions, whatever will be asked from the articles of the Constitution. Okay. Now if you see, even in Panchayati Raj system, there were questions that were repeated. In 2020 there were 2 questions. In 2011 there were 2 questions. In all the other years, at least 1 questions were asked from Panchayati Raj system. And Panchayati Raj system is not a very big topic. It's a small topic. You can cover it within a very short period of time. So read the Panchayati Raj system. At least you will get 1 question from that, which you can attempt. Right? There was a question on schedule based. See, there were in 2013 there was 2 questions. In almost every other year there is 1 question each. Some questions were exactly repeated, as you can remember. The question on which schedule deals with state list and union list were repeated. Yes. So these were the topics that were repeated. So you can know topics were repeated over the years. In fact, some questions were also repeated. You see the question on 6th schedule. It was repeated in 2013, 16 and 18. This question, gap between sessions of the parliament, it was repeated 3 years, 14, 15, 16, right? In 14 it was asked gap between state legislature, right? In 16 the same question. In 2015 it was asked the gap between two sessions of the parliament, union parliament, right? There were two questions on 42nd amendment itself, one on 2013, one on 2014. This question, schedule related to state list, union list, it was asked 3 times, the same question, exactly the same, right? Right to education, it was repeated in 2015 and 18. Question related to future of the constitution, it was repeated in 2 years, 2015 and 18. Fundamental right related question, it was asked in 2020, 2018 and 2014. Now why we have analyzed this is that we have tried to show you first thing which topics are important. Now the first thing you do is that note down all the topics that we have mentioned here and go through them mandatorily. If you at least solve all the topics that are asked in previous year, I can assure you you'll get a lot of common questions in this year paper. Okay, that is the first thing. Second thing, you can see at least the questions are itself repeated. This shows you the importance of solving previous year question papers. Okay, that is the first thing you have to do. Now if I say the books that are important, you can follow any book as you feel like. Now according to me, Lakshmikant and Didi Vasu are very good books. You can pick either of them, no need to read both of them. I studied Lakshmikant, and Lakshmikant is everything is given very thoroughly and it's good. So you can either follow Lakshmikant or you can follow Didi Basu. Anyone to make a thorough study of polity. But at the end of the day, when the exam will be approaching, you can either revise it with your notes that you have made, written notes, or for quick revision, the general knowledge book by Manohar Pandey, even there the important topics of polity are mentioned concisely and precisely. So you can also refer to that for quick revision. Otherwise, your own written notes are the most important. Now, go through our video that is based on articles. We have made a video that is based on articles. The next video that we will be uploading just after this video will be on the important topics. Other than the topics that are mentioned today, which have come in previous year, we'll be also telling you other topics which are important for this year prelims related to polity. And we'll be also including topics related to current affairs that are polity related topics, which you have to study for preparation of polity in this year. Okay. So this is regarding how you can start your preparation for polity in this year paper. We'll be discussing in details in our subsequent videos. We'll be making videos on important topics. Okay, we'll be picking up the most important topics, maybe the Panchayati Raj, maybe constitutional amendments, maybe the important judgments, and we'll be making videos for a quick reference. Keep following our channel, like and subscribe, keep supporting so that we can make good videos for you. Thank you so much.